All right, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 mixing plugins that every EDM producer should get that don't come stock in your DAW. Now, the first 2 plugins, actually versions of these plugins do come stock, but then the last 3 plugins, at least for Ableton, they are nowhere to be found. There's not like a stock version of these last 3 plugins, so make sure you stick through to the end of the video. And real quick, before we get started, if you are an EDM producer and you're looking to get to that next level, that professional level sound, make sure you look in the description below and book a Zoom call with me, and we'll see about getting you some coaching and mentorship to really ensure that you get to that next level. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So the first one is FabFilter Pro Q4. Now, I'm not going to go really in depth to each of these plugins, but FabFilter Pro Q4 is my favorite EQ plugin. I think it's probably the best EQ plugin out there that you can get. It pretty much does everything you possibly would want an EQ to do, a parametric EQ, and it's really easy to work with. As you can see here, I've got it set up on this vocal, and it's simple as clicking. If you click in the middle, you're going to automatically have a bell, and then of course you can go to shape and you can change it to bell, low shelf, low cut, high shelf, high cut, notch, band pass, all of that. You can change the degree of the slope, but you can also just do that by using the mouse wheel. And so if I click down here and I scroll, and now I automatically set up a high pass filter. And if I want to make it less of a slant slope, I can just use the mouse wheel. If I want to make it really steep all the way to a brick wall, I can just quickly use the mouse wheel. And then if I hold down control, I'm using a PC, hold down control, I can really pinpoint different frequencies. And so I have a vocal here. And so if I go ahead and play it, now if I hold this little headphone button here, I can sweep through and get different problem frequencies and attenuate them. And it's really great. And on top of that, there's also the option to have the ability to have a dynamic EQ. So for example, if I, right here, if you can see this, you right click, you go down to, well, it's already, let's try it somewhere else. If I right click here, you go down to make dynamic, and then now it's going to be do some dynamic, some compression, essentially pinpointed in the area that you want. So you can do de-essing with this. You can compress certain frequency ranges. It's really great. Like the options are like pretty much endless with this EQ. So I highly recommend getting FabFilter Pro Q4. Up next is another FabFilter plugin, and that is the FabFilter Pro L2. And this is basically the industry standard when it comes to limiting or using a limiter. You can use Ableton's stock limiter or whatever DAW you have stock limiter, but there's just so many more options that come with having an advanced limiter like this. And I'm not going to get into them all today, but for example, there's different, you can set the oversampling, you can set dither over here. You can, well, usually I turn true peak limiting off. You go to advanced. There's different styles of the kind of way that you want to limit. So like there's just different algorithms. They're going to limit your track in a different way. And of course, you can really fast attack times to make this limiter like a clipper. I think there's been videos that show that Skrillex does this. He'll just put FabFilter Pro L on groups, and essentially he's like using this to like clip and hard limit certain areas. And there's just all sorts of stuff that you can do with FabFilter Pro L, and you should just get it because it's the industry standard and it's definitely worth the money, and you will need it. You will definitely use it in the long run. All right, now we're starting to get into plugins that just don't exist in Ableton. I don't know about other DAWs, but there's just no stock plugins that you get with Ableton that do what these do, and these are volume shapers. Now there are more advanced volume shapers. I think that Shaperbox can do more than LFO Tool, but I'm not sure. And honestly, LFO Tool works just fine for me. That's why I haven't upgraded to get Shaperbox. But basically, they're just volume shapers, and you can do things like sidechain compression effect with them, which I'll show you here in a second. But you can also, you basically have this to where you can set it up to where you can affect this filter a little bit more and create different sounds. And so I'm not going to show you right now, but for example, like that future bass sound that like future bass from back 10 years ago or whatever, that like wah 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 wah. You could take a LFO tool and you could just put it like on any synth that you wanted, and the shape generally looks something like this. And if you put it on with like the right timing, which you can affect with the rate here, which matches with the tempo. I don't think that's the right shape, but you could do that, and we give you that wah 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 sound. And in this example, I have the let's say I'll solo this main pluck sound with the kick drum, and you can just do like, actually if I drag this a little bit over, so you can get, obviously, like, do whatever you want with the sound, the volume shaper, and it works really well. And so that's LFO Tool. There's also Kickstart, which I always recommend. It's just a great plugin. It's like $15. And what you do is you can actually, if you click audio and then sidechain it to the kick, this is just a really easy way to ensure that like your sub bass, for example, isn't getting the kick and the sub of the bass or bass in general don't interfere with each other. And so this main pluck actually isn't really the sub, but just for example, so if I have this, there's like different shapes that you have, and you can get more aggressive with it. But it's just like nice to visually see and also hear that you are ensuring that the kick really pops through and isn't the bass and the kick aren't interfering with each other. That's the basic gist. So take a listen. And so if I put it like here, like on this, if I drag it down here, let's say down to the sub pluck, you can barely hear that, and now if I have the kick, let's see. You can just see it's just a nice, really easy way to go ahead and do that. So up next are transient shapers. I love transient shapers. They're just a really easy way to add attack or sustain, or take away attack or sustain without having to use a compressor. And I think you can get more, you can be more particular, or whatever. You can hone in more on getting a certain sound that you want using them. And so I'm going to show you two ways that I like to use transient shapers. And so first obvious way is if you just have like, let's see, like a clap here, for example. Like obviously if I boost up the attack, it's going to add more attack. And so that's like the real simple way of using it. And I like this is kilohertz or kilohertz. I don't know how to say it. The kilohertz, they're free. So I highly recommend getting the free plugin pack from Kilohertz. And I really like this one because not only does it work really well, but you have this nice visual aspect to it as well. But let's go ahead and jump down here. Here's my favorite way to use these. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it on this loop. Take a listen to this loop without anything on it at all. And now I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pull down the sustain. And that's kind of affected it, but what you can actually do, and I learned this from a disclosure stream, is you can actually double these up. So now I've got two of them, I'm gonna group them, and now let's go ahead and take a listen to it with it off, and then I'm gonna turn it on. You can see it just adds like, it just made it a little bit more like better, groovy. Like it's like a way of taking away some unwanted reverb or some sustain from, especially from a loop. Like let's say you want to use that loop, but there's just kind of too much going on. You could even triple it up. It's kind of extreme, but let's go ahead and see. That's obviously a little bit extreme, so let's go ahead and take that off. So anyways, I love transit shapers, and that's how I go about using those. Okay, the last plugin, and I've talked about this one in my channel before, and this is quite possibly the most important mixing plugin that you could ever possibly get. And it's the one that'll help you go from beginner to more advanced as quickly as possible. And that is Metric AB. It's my favorite referencing plugin. I wish that I had like an affiliate link that I would put down to go get this one. It kind of varies in the price. Sometimes it's on sale, and you get it for like 50 bucks. Other times it's like a couple $100. I would just try to get it when it's on sale or whatever. Just get the plugin because it's amazing. Essentially, you have right here, these are different slots where you can put other professional tracks in. You could have like several pro tracks. I recommend getting pro track that's in like your genre. So let's say you make tech house or something, or let's say you make like poppy piano house, which is something that I like to make. Grab a Segala track, put it in there, and then you can play your track, which will be in A mode, and then play the orange one would be the pro track. You can go back and forth. You can match the volume. There's a way that you can automatically, if you just hit match, it'll automatically do it, but I just like to actually manually match the volume myself. You can loop different sections, and I'll go ahead and actually throw in a track. Okay, so I'm gonna throw ahead. I just went ahead and threw in a random like tin licker track I have, like a wave file. And so, you know, if you're making melodic house and you want to compare your track to one of the best groups ever, Tin Licker, you can take one of their tracks, put it in there, and then as you can see, there's these different modes where if you were playing the track, you would see the stereo image, the dynamics. You're going to be able to read the LUFS, match your LUFS LUFS compared to the track, and this is helpful when you're mastering as well. You know, loudness, and there's different filters. Like, it's really helpful to be able to loop a reference track and then loop your track, and then you can actually filter so where you only hear like the midsection of both tracks, and you can listen and compare. And I promise you, this is like the fastest way to get better. If you're not referencing, you're just throwing darts in the dark. Like, if you're listening to pro tracks while you produce, while you're mixing, and you have a target, like something to aim for as like the pinnacle of mixing and production, you're just going to get there yourself so much faster. So that's why I'm always talking about metric A/B and referencing in general. You could have the best speakers in the world and the best setup and like the flattest listening environment, but if you're new to production and mixing and you're making music on your own, what happens is you'll make your music and it sounds really good, but then you go to listen to a pro track and you're like, oh man, my music, it sounds so much worse. And so really the key is to have the best listening environment you possibly can. You can use cheap headphones and you'll be able to get away with it. But if you have some nice headphones or some nice speakers with a flat environment and you're producing, but then also referencing and comparing your track to the pro tracks, you're just going to get to that pro level sound much, much quicker. So this is one of my favorite plugins of all time. Honestly, I would get rid of all those other plugins and I would take this one over all of them because of how quickly it just helps me to get to that pro level sound and helps my students get to that pro level sound as well. So yeah, that's it. And you know, like I said before, if you're an EDM producer and you're wanting to get to that next level much quicker than just like watching random YouTube videos and stuff like that, go ahead and look in the description below and just book a call with me. It's a free call. I'll listen to one of your tracks. I'll give you some feedback, advice on where to go. And either way, if you work with me, that's cool. If not, like, that's cool too. I'll try to point you in the right direction. Okay, I will talk to you guys again next time. I'll see you guys later.